The 21st century has ushered in an era of unprecedented technological and economic growth. We can now work anytime, anywhere. But at what cost? Families drift apart, stress becomes a constant, and precious moments slip away, never to return. Can we truly achieve career success without sacrificing the core values of family? The answer lies not in working harder, but in mastering our lives. Stay with me, and you'll discover how to take control of your time, reconnect with your loved ones, and regain a true sense of balance. If you find this content helpful, please subscribe to the channel and like the video to motivate me to create more new videos. Alexander Marlowe, a 44-year-old tech entrepreneur living in Boston, embodies the image of success. He owns a sprawling mansion, travels internationally for work, and leads a series of thriving startups. To his colleagues, Alexander represents iron will and unyielding discipline. Yet behind this facade of accomplishment lies a truth few are aware of. His family life is on the brink of collapse. For over a decade, Alexander has worked from dawn until late at night, often bringing work home. Grueling meetings, midnight emails, and multi-million-dollar deals have distanced him from his family. He cannot recall the last time he had an uninterrupted dinner with his wife and 2 children. His wife, Eleanor, a strong and dedicated woman, has grown accustomed to raising the kids alone despite living under the same roof. Their eldest son, Adrian, now 16, communicates with his father through brief exchanges like, "Are you really that busy?" One Friday evening, after returning home from a week-long business trip, Alexander noticed an empty seat at the dinner table. Adrian had gone out with friends without informing anyone. When Alexander asked Eleanor where Adrian was, she replied, "He thinks you don't care." Her words hit Alexander like a punch to the gut. For years, he had immersed himself in work, believing that financial success was the key to safeguarding and providing for his family. Yet, in reality, he was losing the most precious thing, his connection with and love for those closest to him. Can Alexander turn things around, or will he continue down this path, ultimately losing his family forever? That evening, after the cold conversation with his wife, Alexander sat silently in his home office. The million-dollar deal contract still lay on the desk, but his mind was consumed by Eleanor's words. "He thinks you don't care." In his despair, Alexander's hand brushed against Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, a birthday gift from an old friend he had never read. As he flipped through the pages, a quote struck him deeply. "Ask yourself, is this within my control? If not, let go of the worry." The words stunned him. For years, Alexander had tried to control everything: profits, reputation, career growth. Yet he had entirely neglected the one thing he could control: how he chose to spend his time and his presence with his family. He began questioning himself. Why do I work endlessly? To succeed? But what does success truly mean? Why am I distant from my son? Because I'm busy? Or am I choosing to be? Stoicism teaches that no one can control everything, only their reactions and actions in the face of life's challenges. Lesson 1. Success is more than wealth. Marcus Aurelius, once the most powerful Roman emperor, constantly reminded himself that power did not define a person's worth. Similarly, Alexander realized he had equated his self-worth with financial success, while neglecting what truly mattered: his relationships and inner peace. Lesson 2. Set the right priorities. Seneca once wrote, "You will waste your life if you chase temporary things while neglecting the eternal." Alexander reflected on his achievements: deals, profits, business expansions, all replaceable. But time with Adrian was not. Those moments, once lost, could never be reclaimed. Lesson 3. Accept your limitations. For years, Alexander had tried to please every partner, employee, and client, forgetting that he couldn't satisfy everyone. Stoicism emphasizes that perfection is an illusion. Focus instead on what is within your control: the quality of time and presence with loved ones. That night, for the first time in years, Alexander left his desk early. He sat beside Eleanor and said, "I was wrong. Work will always be there, but I can't afford to lose my family." His journey to reclaim balance had only just begun. Let's build a community of kindness by subscribing to Stoicism for Success right now, and sharing it with those you wish to see live with kindness and strength like us. Let's spread these positive values together. Establishing clear boundaries between work and family. On Monday morning, Alexander woke up early, just like every other day. But this time, he didn't rush to check his emails. Instead, he sat quietly with his coffee, reflecting on recent events. Eleanor's words echoed in his mind. "He thinks you don't care." The previous night, for the first time in years, he had turned off his phone during dinner and fully immersed himself in family time. It was just a simple movie night, but the undistracted presence with Eleanor and Adrian made him realize how much he had missed. Yet Alexander knew that without clear boundaries, work would soon creep back in. Determined to make a change, he committed to a bold but essential shift, setting fixed working hours from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. No emails after hours. No bringing work home. The first day felt uncomfortable. Each time his phone buzzed, he had to resist the urge to check it. But the evening passed peacefully. No deals collapsed. No crises erupted. Just a quiet family dinner where Adrian shared his latest sports achievement at school, something Alexander hadn't even known about before. Of course, not everyone welcomed his change. A longtime business partner complained when he couldn't reach Alexander after 7 p.m. In the past, Alexander would have felt guilty and scrambled to accommodate. But this time, he responded with quiet confidence. "I'm committed to delivering the highest quality work during business hours. Beyond that, I need to prioritize my family." To his surprise, the negative reactions didn't last long. In fact, some partners even expressed respect for his decision. He realized that setting boundaries didn't just protect his family time, it also earned him greater respect from others. However, time boundaries alone weren't enough without better control over technology. His phone, once a constant companion, had become a source of endless distraction. To reclaim focus, Alexander took a bold step. He deleted his work email app from his personal phone and bought a separate alarm clock to break the habit of checking his phone first thing in the morning. At first, it felt uncomfortable, but within a week, the difference was undeniable. He felt more focused during work hours and fully present at home. When Adrian asked him to play basketball in the driveway for the first time in years, he didn't have to decline due to an urgent call. Those simple moments made him realize a profound truth. True success means controlling your time, not letting it control you. Alexander's journey toward balance had just begun, but for the first time in years, he felt like he was finally on the right path. Time management, like a leader. A week after setting boundaries between work and family, Alexander realized that controlling his time wasn't just about limiting work hours. He needed to learn how to use his time more effectively, not only for work, but also to be fully present for his family. Previously, his workdays felt like a whirlwind. Alexander would start his mornings checking emails, then get swept into a series of meetings and sudden demands. By the end of the day, he felt drained. Yet the most important tasks remained unfinished. This time, he tried a different approach. On Monday morning, Alexander sat down with a blank sheet of paper and listed the week's truly important tasks: completing the project expansion plan, mentoring his mid-level leadership team, and spending time with Adrian every evening. Then, he prioritized them. He began applying the Eisenhower matrix, a principle he had recently read from Stoic philosophy, classifying tasks by urgency and importance. Important but non-urgent tasks, such as long-term strategic planning and family bonding, were now placed at the top. Meanwhile, urgent but less important tasks, like minor meetings, were either eliminated or delegated. On the first day of this trial, when an employee called to report a minor system error, Alexander paused and asked himself, "Does this really require my attention, or can someone else handle it?" He decided to delegate the task to the technical manager and return to his priority work. That evening, exactly at 6 p.m., Alexander shut down his computer and stepped out of his office. Adrian was sitting on the sofa, eyes glued to his phone. Alexander sat next to him, not to lecture but simply to be present. "I'm free tonight. Want to do something together?" he asked. Adrian looked up, slightly surprised but quickly smiled. "Want to play basketball with me? Or have you forgotten the rules already?" At that moment, Alexander realized that quality time didn't require elaborate plans, but simply being fully present. However, it wasn't all smooth sailing. That weekend, a major client unexpectedly sent an email requesting an urgent meeting to discuss a large deal. In the past, Alexander would have instantly agreed, but this time, he politely declined, suggesting rescheduling for Monday during business hours. The client wasn't happy at first, but surprisingly, when they met on Monday, they respected Alexander's professionalism and even admired his firm principles. Alexander had learned a powerful lesson. Time management isn't about cramming more tasks into a day, but focusing on what truly adds value, both in work and life. Quality family time matters more than quantity. One Saturday evening, Alexander decided to dedicate his full attention to his family. No laptop, no phone. He cooked dinner himself, spaghetti, a favorite dish of Eleanor and Adrian, despite his limited cooking skills. Adrian burst into laughter watching his father struggle with the boiling water, while Eleanor playfully teased, "Seems like your job is easier than cooking, huh?" The dinner was cozy and joyful. No phone notifications, no distractions. The conversations revolved around everyday stories, Adrian's school results, an upcoming family trip, and books Eleanor was reading. These simple things, which Alexander had once dismissed as trivial, were now clear to him. They were the foundation of true family connection. However, this change didn't come from a single meal or evening. In the past, Alexander had tried to make up for his absence by taking his family on expensive trips or giving luxurious gifts. But Stoic philosophy had taught him, the quality of presence matters more than the quantity of time spent together. He realized that truly being present, fully engaged without work distractions, was what created deep connections. No lavish vacations were necessary. Sometimes just an afternoon playing basketball with Adrian or a walk in the park with Eleanor was enough. Of course, these changes weren't always easy. Once, while Alexander was playing chess with Adrian, a notification from a major business partner popped up on his phone. For a brief moment, he felt the urge to stand up and respond. But then he stopped, recalling Marcus Aurelius's teaching. If something isn't urgent enough to be done immediately, let it wait. He placed the phone face down on the table and continued the game. Adrian looked at his father with surprise, then smiled brightly. "It's the first time I've seen you lose without blaming it on being distracted." In that moment, Alexander realized children don't need you to just be present. They need your full, genuine attention. Alexander's change also positively affected Eleanor. Evening conversations were no longer centered solely around work. They started reminiscing about old memories and dreams they had once shared, long before Alexander was consumed by his career. However, Alexander knew that balance wasn't a final destination, it was an ongoing process. Some days, work still created pressure, but he learned to consciously choose. Work can wait, but family cannot. Mental health, a critical priority. On a quiet Sunday morning, Alexander sat on his porch, watching the sunlight filter through the leaves. He felt more peaceful, but couldn't deny that the stress from past years had left its mark on his mind. Although his relationships with his family had improved, he still felt an invisible weight pressing down, the pressure to succeed, to prove himself constantly. In the past, Alexander had viewed mental health care as a luxury, something for the weak. He believed that discipline and sheer willpower were enough. But Stoic philosophy had shifted his perspective. Seneca once wrote, "We cannot control the world, but we can control how we respond to it." And that control starts from within. That morning, Alexander decided to try a new habit, spending 10 minutes each morning in quiet reflection. No phone, no emails, just a few minutes of deep breathing and focusing on the present. At first, his mind raced with chaotic thoughts. Am I forgetting something? Has partner A responded yet? But after a few days, he felt his mind beginning to settle. Alongside mindfulness, Alexander also began prioritizing his physical health. Realizing that the mind and body were deeply connected, he committed to running 3 mornings a week, a habit he had neglected for years. These park runs not only boosted his fitness, but also provided mental clarity, helping him avoid unnecessary stress. Surprisingly, as Alexander focused more on his mental well-being, his work performance improved significantly. He felt less stressed in meetings and more focused on solving core issues instead of reacting hastily to every situation. However, the true test came early the following month. A major project ran into difficulties, and financial pressure kept Alexander awake all night. The old feelings of anxiety returned. The next morning, when Adrian asked if he was okay, Alexander instinctively replied, "I'm just tired." But then he paused. He realized that mental health wasn't about hiding emotions. It was about confronting them honestly and managing them healthily. That day, he chose to open up to Eleanor about the pressure he was facing. Instead of bottling it up as he had in the past, they discussed solutions together, even considering postponing some secondary projects to avoid overextension. Alexander's story wasn't just about controlling time or balancing work and family. It was the journey of a man learning to master his emotions and mental health, a core element in truly taking control of his life. Let's come together to support our community. If you are a kind person, please hit the like button on this video and leave some energetic comments to spread positive vibes. Together, we can make a difference. Late one evening, Alexander sat quietly in his living room armchair, reflecting. It had been months since he began making changes, yet moments of unease still lingered. Despite his efforts to spend more time with his family, he sometimes felt it wasn't enough. Then he realized, balance isn't a final destination, but a continuous journey of adjustment. The first mistake Alexander had made was believing he could make up for lost time. There were periods when he buried himself in work, only to later plan long family vacations as an attempt to compensate. But he soon realized that expensive trips could never replace the small, everyday moments. The shared dinners, morning workouts with his son, or the heartfelt bedtime conversations. True presence means being consistently available, not offering grand gestures in bursts. The second mistake he had made was trying to please everyone. When he first implemented work boundaries, Alexander felt guilty for declining late meetings or requests from business partners. He feared that if he didn't accommodate everyone, his career would suffer. But then he recalled Marcus Aurelius's words, "Stop wasting time living according to the expectations of others." Alexander gradually understood that saying no wasn't a sign of irresponsibility, but an act of self-mastery. He realized he could only be a good husband, father, and entrepreneur if he clearly defined his true priorities. The third mistake was striving for perfection in every aspect of life. Alexander once believed he needed to be an ideal father, a perfect husband, and an exceptional leader all at once. Yet this mindset only left him exhausted, feeling like he wasn't excelling in any of those roles. Stoic philosophy taught him, perfection is an illusion. What truly matters is continuous progress. And then came the day when Alexander forgot to pick Adrian up from sports practice due to being stuck in a meeting. In the past, he would have harshly blamed himself, carrying the guilt for days. But this time, he chose to confront the mistake directly. Alexander apologized sincerely and committed to adjusting his schedule to avoid repeating it. Adrian wasn't upset. He simply replied, "I know you're trying, Dad." That's what balance is. It's not about avoiding every mistake, but learning from them and making adjustments along the way. What ultimately changed Alexander wasn't a life-altering event, but the realization that his worth extended beyond career success. It lay in being a responsible husband, a present father, and a man who continually strives to improve. After months of struggling to find balance, Alexander realized that awareness alone wasn't enough. Real change only happens through concrete actions. To maintain and strengthen the progress he had made, he decided to create a clear system, not just for himself, but to ensure his family and work felt the positive impact. On Monday morning, Alexander woke up early and wrote down his 3 top priorities for the week. Spend 30 minutes each evening talking or playing sports with Adrian. Plan at least one date night with Eleanor. Complete the quarterly strategic plan without letting work take over his evenings. He understood that without committing to small but specific actions, all his previous efforts would gradually fade. The first step Alexander took was scheduling family time as he would schedule a critical business meeting. He proactively blocked out Friday dinners and a Sunday outing in his calendar. Nothing extravagant, just simple, quality time together, prioritized like an important client meeting. His next step was to stay disciplined with work boundaries. He reinforced the rule, no emails after 6 p.m. and no laptops in the bedroom. One evening, a colleague texted him, "Can I call you now? It'll only take 10 minutes." Alexander took a deep breath and replied, "Please send me a summary via email, and I'll handle it tomorrow morning." At first, he worried about losing opportunities, but no deals fell apart. Instead, he was proving he controlled his life, rather than letting work control him. When it came to health, he took ownership too. Alexander committed to running 3 times a week, tracking his progress in a journal. Those early morning runs not only boosted his physical health, but also gave him quiet moments to reflect on big decisions without distractions. However, the biggest transformation was in how he communicated with his family. Rather than assuming Adrian and Eleanor would notice his changes, Alexander chose to be direct. He sat them down and said, "I'm working to become a better husband and father. If you ever feel I'm slipping back into old habits, please remind me." That statement created a profound shift. Adrian, though just a teenager, felt his father's sincerity. He began inviting Alexander to play basketball, without waiting for an invitation. By committing to small but consistent actions, Alexander wasn't just improving his personal life, he was inspiring positive change at work too. His employees began respecting work hours and focusing more on quality over quantity. The journey toward work-life balance is not a destination, it's a daily commitment. And just like Alexander, you can start today. Alexander proved that balancing work and family isn't a distant dream, but the result of conscious, consistent choices made every day. He wasn't perfect, but he was committed to being a better husband, father, and leader. True success isn't about working more or earning more. It's about mastering your time and focus so you can live fully with your core values. The journey isn't easy, but as Stoic philosophy reminds us, you can't control the world, but you can control your choices. Start today, because family, like life itself, won't wait. Thank you for watching this video. Let's support our wonderful community by hitting subscribe and turning on notifications right now. Show everyone that you're living kindly by liking the video and sharing your experiences in the comments. Take action now to spread positive energy.